Good morning, guys. So today I have a quite a busy day actually. Meeting up with a client in a minute. I'm hoping for a good piece of good news to come through from another client. Oh yeah, I've got my jacket on. Check me out. What do you reckon? Nice. And yeah, oh yeah, someone said to me the other day that I was looking a little forlorn. So I just want to explain that, if it's coming across in the videos at all. Oscar is sleeping terribly badly at the moment, really badly. This morning he was up from 4:30 till like 6, constantly crying, which is no fun. And we're going through a few growing pains in the business at the moment, something that all businesses do. A lot of change going on, so I might even do the vlog on change today actually, because it's pretty relevant, and hopefully it'll give some tips and things that I'm learning. So I'm going to be talking today about our growth over the last 15 years and what we have learned from that time. Our business has actually been going for 17 years, so hopefully there's going to be some really useful tips for you guys, and talk to you about the trajectory of our company and how that has just changed, how the different challenges that come up in a small business and how we've tackled those, and which are the biggest challenges for us, and hopefully there'll be some key takeaways for you guys. So I'm going to talk to you about the last 15 years of growth here at Optix and some of the lessons I've learned, just so that you can either plan for those, because I didn't have a chance, unfortunately can't see into the future, but also just to kind of give you an idea of some of the challenges that we've been through as a business. So let's talk that over. Okay, so I'm going to do a little graph here. Looks something like that, and here we have growth there and years here. Some of you know we've been going about 17 years. I'm going to cut this up and into 3 or 4 key points. Sorry, my scale is terrible, but here we go, 5 to 15 years. I'm then going to have talk to you about kind of different times in our existence. So I'm going to start over here with startup. We're going to then look at what happens at 5, what happens at 10, and what happened at 15 years, and just talk you through some of the challenges that James and I have gone through in that time. So, because they are very different challenges, and certainly at the moment, and I'll come on to this in a bit more detail, we are going through fairly significant challenges. So, startup, what are the kind of key things that happen at startup? Well, these are the challenges businesses have. No money. Pretty hard to survive without that, and I think that brings me on to the next one, which is surviving, getting clients. These are all key challenges of a startup company. They're all things that you need to do when you begin, and they're kind of front of mind. They're your priorities, these 4 here. So then we come up to 5 years, and some of the things that are more important, then you start to think about building a team. You think about that leads you on to recruitment. One of the biggest challenges here is the fact that you quite often find yourself hiring fast, which means that sometimes you make poor decisions because you just need to get people into the business to satisfy the work that you've brought in with your new clients. Again, I'd say money is probably still pretty key here. This sort of first 5 years time, fairly up and down. I've read some stats before that say that a business isn't really in a good state until it's out of that kind of startup phase until for about 5 years. So you're almost not safe until that point, really. Businesses are never safe, obviously, but it gets a lot easier after 5 years. So then we come into our 10-year period. And some of the interesting things that started to happen then was we noticed sort of office politics happening. You'd get cliques. God, don't know how to spell that. I think it's like that. Cliques. Leadership is required. And structure starts to develop. It's also important to start to clarify vision. I mean, really you should have vision back here, but I guess when you're just paddling madly, just trying to keep going, some of these things that are important up at this stage just aren't important back here. So these are the kind of things that you start to begin to think about a little bit later on down your journey. Then what come up to 15 years, and here we start to see things like creation of teams, process becomes much more important, investment, and that's both inward and external. So we look to invest our money made in things that hopefully will lead into further money. So that's pretty key. One of the biggest challenges James and I have is letting go. Now, we've run this business for 15 years at this point, just on by ourselves with people below us, so very flat structure. And letting go of some of the things that you've done every single day for 15 years is incredibly difficult to do, but important to get to the next stage. Accountability. In a small office, it's very easy to see who has done the wrong things or who's made mistakes. And in a bigger office, there's more places to hide, there's more places for things to go wrong. So accountability, holding people accountable, starts to become much more important at this kind of stage. You've got direction and vision and goals. Also very, very important at this stage of a business. So very different challenges up here to down here when you're in kind of startup phase. One of the other interesting things was our kind of overall structure and what started to happen there. So back in the early days, there was actually 3 of us originally, but that was soon 2. So there was only 2 or 3 people, all on the same line, same hierarchy, equal say. Fast forward to 5 years, I'm going to assume that we had about 5 people, so I don't know if it was exactly that. But again, the structure is very similar to that, so me and James at the top, followed by 3 in a flat structure after that. Fast forward to 10 years, and that structure has just expanded. Now, I don't know the exact number of people, but it's looking something like that in 10-year period. Now what we're having to do, and this is really where it's becoming both exciting but also challenging, is putting in this kind of hierarchical structure. Because whereas we have too many reports here, these guys that sit in this position, or will sit in this position, and we're literally doing this as I speak, will start to take on these reports from us, allowing these people to go off and do things that they're best at. So in my instance, it's, you know, key accounts, selling, strategic partnerships, things that generate work for this business, but mean that I'm not tied up in the day-to-day kind of firefighting of what's going on in the business on a, you know, client level necessarily, or a process level. This change here to here has been the most challenging and difficult most challenging and difficult time I've ever experienced in this business. It's also the most exciting and most rewarding, as I say, but it's hard for me personally to let go. It's hard for me to step out of things which I would normally want to be in, because naturally I want to go and fix things. But it is imperative for us to get from here to here in order that we can carry on this trajectory, which is the one we've been on now for 15 or 17 years. So I hope that goes some way to kind of explaining some of the growth path that we've been on and some of the challenges we've had. And I'm sure that this is very similar to many SME businesses, small businesses. So I don't know if there's anything that you guys can learn from this. I'm sure there is, and if you haven't got to this stage, if you're down here and you want to get here, then you can at least start to think about some of this stuff maybe a bit earlier than we have here in Optics. I hope that was useful, guys. I certainly enjoyed doing it. It was a bit of a look back over history, thinking about, God, what did we feel like at that time? And yeah, it's exciting to see how much things have changed, but also just got to keep adapting, keep changing, keep growing, so that we can be the best we possibly can be. And it means that we're going to fall at certain areas, and that is what happens, but we will get better and learn from those mistakes and take them on to our next stage of our journey. Anyway, until then, I'll see you next time.